Environmentalists are calling for a permanent source of funding for open space acquisitions in New Jersey. The request comes as more than half of the Green Acres money approved by voters last fall has already been allocated. As environment correspondent Ed Rogers reports, a water tax is among 3 options being considered.
The environmental groups claim that $200 million in open space funds approved by the voters in last November's election will run out by December. They claim this will leave New Jersey with its first gap in open space funding in 20 years and that there has already been an impact.
Another example is a property we lost because of just $200,000, a funding gap of only $200,000 in Pittsgrove Township in Ocean County. A beautiful farm is now on its way to becoming a commercial and high-density residential development.
The groups are calling on Governor Corzine and the legislature to find a permanent funding source. They pointed to a poll commissioned by 2 of the environmental organizations showing strong support among New Jersey voters for 3 possible sources. They include $800 million in bonds, dedication of $150 million from a water tax that would cost households about $32 a year, or dedicating $175 million annually from state sales tax revenue. Senate Environment Committee Chairman Bob Smith is sponsoring a bill that would require voter approval for creating the so-called water tax, but it is stalled in the legislature. But the Corzine administration appears to be coupling money for open space acquisitions with its efforts to fund transportation projects in the state.
The funding requirements that we have with regard to both infrastructure, transportation, open space, I think have to be addressed on a longer-term overall financial plan, and we intend to come with that. I'm just not prepared to talk about it today.
New Jersey voters have a record of approving Green Acres ballot questions, but last November's referendum was only approved by 8% of the vote. Some political analysts believe high gas prices and a weak economy could dampen voter enthusiasm.
Those bond measures have been gone to the public, and they voted overwhelmingly in most cases by 6 and 10, 7 and 10 to approve those. Last year it was only 54%, which I think is an indication right now that while we value open space and we value the environment, that we're a little concerned about where this money is coming from, whether we can afford to do it right now.
But environmentalists say last year's results were an anomaly. The election was marked by opposition to 2 other ballot questions that would have created more state debt. They also say turnout was low in urban areas.
Historically in New Jersey, open space passes overwhelmingly in urban areas and urban counties. And I think what happened this time, the urban county numbers were depressed dramatically because there was really nothing to vote on, and the percentages in the rural Republican areas were higher because they had the bigger battles.
The legislature isn't scheduled to be back in session until September. That's too late to get a question on the ballot this fall. The environmentalists are seeking stopgap funding in the next budget and would like to see a long-term solution before the voters by November 2009. Ed Rogers, NJN News, Trenton.